Let's talk to Jeff Porjola right now, reporter at Northwest Radio Seattle. Donald Trump has once again been signing yet more executive orders. One in particular is going to interest the old conspiracy theorists because it's about JFK, John F. Kennedy. Let's have a look at this.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades.
Yeah, that's a big one. What exactly is it going to say? Jeff, tell us. Very good morning to you.
Well, good morning. And we really don't know what are in these documents, but I think it's important to remember that thousands upon thousands of documents have already been released. If you remember, in Donald Trump's first term, he signed an executive order that released a number of documents. President Biden, during his 4 years in office, also released a number of documents. The National Archives says 97% of the documents in their collection have already been released to the public, but you still have the CIA and the FBI. They have documents involved as well. Some of them are redacted. We don't know what's in them. But if you recall, 4 and 8 years ago, it wasn't a whole lot of surprises that came out. And I don't know that necessarily any of the conspiracy theories are going to be proved once we see these documents.
So we're not going to be able to open up the New York Times tomorrow morning and go, oh, my God, it was the Russians after all that had him assassinated, or it was Jimmy Hoffa, or the CIA, or Castro from Cuba. We're not going to really find that out.
No, and certainly not for a little while anyway. The executive order in detail says it gives the offices of the president and the various agencies 15 days to come up with a plan to release the documents to the public. That's for the JFK assassination, and then 45 days to come up with a plan to release the documents for the RFK assassination and the MLK assassination. Right. So at the very least, it's going to be 2 weeks before we see anything.
Okay. And the big news yesterday for Donald Trump was that he didn't go to Davos, but he did sort of mail it in, if you like. He went on Zoom and gave a little speech to the assembled wealthy and rich people of the world. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
On day one, I signed an executive order directing every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and reduce the cost of daily life. I imposed a federal hiring freeze, a federal regulation freeze, a foreign aid freeze, and I created the new Department of Government Efficiency. I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord and ended the insane and costly electric vehicle mandate. We're going to let people buy the car they want to buy.
This was not the news that Davos was looking forward to hearing, really, was it? Because they usually like to make all sorts of pronouncements on, saving the planet, sorting out the climate, and making sure that very, very wealthy governments and individuals do the right thing. Davos has become more and more of a kind of non-existent and irrelevant organisation, hasn't it?
Well, I would say missing in what Donald Trump said there, too, was the fact that he's going to be imposing tariffs. And a lot of the countries, at least foreign countries from the American perspective, not so happy about that. But it goes to his America First policy. He wants to bring manufacturing back to the shores of America, much of which has been exported to China, Mexico, places that don't have the stringent labor laws that the United States has. So that was also a focus of his speech. But yes, this is certainly a way for him to erase the last 4 years and change through executive order many of the things that Joe Biden did while he was in office.
Yeah, absolutely right. And one of the big stories yesterday, which hasn't got much play here in London, I don't know whether it's getting much play in the US, is the $600 billion that Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, has promised to send to Donald Trump after a phone call yesterday, which I think, in my mind, certainly one of the biggest sort of promises and donations from a different country in the history of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Donald Trump has certainly made no mistake about trying to ally with certain people, and and try to bring money into the United States. You also saw the fact that you had a lot of foreign investment in AI in the United States.
Yeah.
It's a lot of a foreign policy of trying to get foreign investors to put their money in the United States instead of the other way around, instead of having American companies invest in companies and exports in other countries. So again, it goes back to his America First policy, which is what he's been about since 2015.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, good to talk to you. Thanks very much. Jeff Pojular there from Radio Northwest in Seattle. Trump supposedly has secured $3 trillion in investments on his first day in office and projected to be at $7 trillion by the end of the week. It's incredible, isn't it?